Alright, this is going to be my Sony conference wrap-up video. I did the Microsoft one first and got my thoughts gathered about Sony and ready to jump into that. So Sony's press conference ended just a few hours ago, and much different tone and feeling in the Sony conference as we had in the Microsoft conference. Overall, as the crowd filed in and the buzz was building, it seemed like there was a lot more anticipation for the Sony conference than there was for the Microsoft one. A lot of people were predicting a big Vita blowout. That actually did not happen, and we'll talk a little bit about that. People expected a bunch of new exclusives. There were some, and the ones that they did show were nice. So the show started off by Jack Tretton coming out. The guy does a good job. He's kind of wooden. Basically came out and said, hey, gamers are cool, and Kaz Hirai's here and he's cool too. And it contrasted with the opening where in Microsoft Halo opened things up. It was a little bit of a slow start, but things got rolling pretty nicely when David Cage from Quantic Dream came out. They were the ones who made Heavy Rain. He came out and started showing Beyond Two Souls. It was an interesting choice not to lead with the Last of Us presentation, but they saved that for a later point in the show. And so this was an interesting lead, and basically it's kind of hard to tell how this next game is going to function as far as controls go, but the technology driving it looked really nice. The facial animations looked as good as I've ever seen. I mean, it just looked really well done as far as an animation standpoint goes. We don't know a whole lot about it, despite the fact that they spent a few minutes on it. We know it's about a woman named Jodie Holmes. She's obviously capable of some sort of powers. They're alluded to a little bit in the conference presentation, but it's going to follow her for 15 years, and the story is going to unfold at that time. It has something to do with questions about the state of the soul after death. Can they be interacted with? Everything shown in the demo was done in full real-time in-engine assets, which was pretty impressive. It looks pretty similar aesthetically to Heavy Rain, but again, much better facial animation. It just looks like good evolution of the tech that they started building there. Again, it's decision-based storytelling, so endings and revelations can be altered or changed based on how you play through it. I'm pretty interested to see more about it. Would like to get some time with it. I don't know if it's going to be more standard controls or if it's going to be a lot more like the Heavy Rain controls. They didn't show that, but this, the story setup looked neat, and it was a good way to start the show. So maybe that was the right way to go and not start with The Last of Us. But after that, they transitioned into PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and I'm just having a hard time not seeing it as anything other than like a Me Too type of game. And obviously the Me Too I'm referring to is, well, Smash Brothers. And as I got back to the hotel and started looking around online, reaction stuff, I noticed that Sony had even put a YouTube video up, and the tags for it were all Smash Brothers related. It's been since taken down, but there's screenshots of it floating around everywhere. The game does look fun with the different characters out there. It's built around the idea of these superpowers that you can charge up, so they called them supers. They level 1, 2, or 3. A level 1 super is just a real powerful attack, but it's kind of limited in its range. A level 2 super either lasts longer or has a wider range, and then a level 3 super lasted quite a bit longer, and it looked like it was basically one-hit kill type of stuff. And so rather than smashing your opponent from the screen, which you do, it looks like it's kind of a race to get your powers leveled up and then use them at the right time to maximize number of kills, unleashing those powers. So Again, it does look fun. I just think it kind of lacks a bit of soul. Maybe it will feel different when I get a chance to play it on the show floor tomorrow, but as it stands, I just didn't see any like real. It's not obviously going to try and go for a gritty feel. You don't throw all your characters in to kind of a brawler and give it a gritty feel, but it didn't seem either lighthearted enough, or it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's finding its footing stylistically. Again, the way it plays can make up a lot for that, so it could be a lot of fun. We'll see. From there, there was a little bit of Vita talk, but unfortunately it wasn't about games. It was more about functionality. They did talk about, you know, PS1 classics coming and more digitally downloaded stuff, but as far as just new announcements, they weren't really there. They did talk about the PS Vita being used as what they're calling a cross controller. Little Big Planet's going to be the first one to support this, but it allows you to use the Vita as a bit of a tablet controller, kind of like the Wii U. And the Little Big Planet 2 is going to get a DLC update to allow support for that. I'm sure many more games are going to do that as well. They just didn't talk specifically about it too much. From there, they went into talk about PlayStation Plus and more free games coming. Basically, they're just trying to amp up the value of the service, give everybody in the crowd a year's subscription to PS Plus to try it out, in case we haven't yet. But yeah, you know, PS Plus really it's nice. A lot of people who already use Xbox Live don't really feel like they need to pay for two consoles, so Sony try and pushes the value side of it a lot more. The free games, and basically you're renting a game library for $5 a month, and they're working harder to get current generation and newer games onto the service. So if you're a PS Plus user, it's probably great news. Hearing more is coming. I have a hard time justifying the cost for everybody, but if you're a PlayStation only owner, or you don't pay for Xbox Live, PS Plus is looking really good right about now. From there, they talked about Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified. Now, this was a Vita announcement, but they didn't tell us anything about it. Only thing we know is it's coming this holiday, but we didn't get any screenshots, any video. It's a first-person shooter. That's all we have. We'll have to see what kind of experience it provides. They also ran a trailer for Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, which is going to be the Vita's own Assassin's Creed title. It's the protagonist is a black woman, as has been rumored leading up to the show, and it looks like it's set in New Orleans. We don't know how far she's going to venture from that, but it is built on the ground up on the Vita. And then if you own Assassin's Creed 3 for the PS3 as well as Liberation for the Vita, you'll unlock some exclusive content. And then they're going to have a special Vita bundle that will have the game. It comes out October 30th. They're also releasing a white PS Vita that will be in this bundle. I'm sure they'll sell it separately as well. And the bundle also comes with a memory card. So that was a nice win for Sony to get an exclusive Assassin's Creed game. Obviously the franchise is hot right now, especially with how well received the Assassin's Creed 3 stuff has been. They showed a little bit of Assassin's Creed 3 next, and this one was completely new. They showed ship battles where you are with your main character Connor, you're the captain of a ship, and it showed him fighting for positioning to get the cannons lined up. There's a changing weather system, so as you're watching, the seas went from kind of calm to rough over the time that he was out there. You have full control over the steering and the weapons, and then at the end of the clip, they showed Connor boarding the ship. Now, I thought that looked amazing. Obviously, this isn't going to be exclusive to Sony stuff, but these ship battles are going to be great for Assassin's Creed 3. You know, the past Assassin's Creed, the world outside the cities, it's always been there for you to kind of go play around in and you know, do what you want, but it was never really that interesting. The cities were just dense enough that you could spend all your time there, and the rest of the world was just kind of something to travel to. If you're a real completionist, yeah, there was stuff to do out there, but these ship battles look a lot more fun. They did announce that there will be a PS3 bundle for Assassin's Creed 3, as well as exclusive DLC, but no specifics were given on that. Whether it's full episodes or if it's individual missions, we don't know. But they did secure some sort of exclusive DLC, and as Microsoft was quick to point out the instances where they had done the same, so was Sony. And I'm not a big fan of these exclusive DLCs. I think they kind of suck for the gamers, especially in the situations where maybe one console has the better content, but you'd prefer to buy it on the other console because maybe that's where more of your friends are playing, or you have the previous titles in the series on that console. So it's kind of a bummer when that stuff happens, but for the most part these things are timed, so if you worry too much about it, you'll get it. You can just wait. The next game shown was Far Cry 3, and they showed off 4-player co-op. And the demo actually to me was kind of rough. I know it's really hard to show off 4-player co-op. You have to keep cutting between views to show that everybody's doing their own thing, and they kind of over-communicate with each other to make it seem, a little bit more dramatic, or that they're working together as a team. So it's tough to show. I don't think that the area they showed was particularly good, though. It was kind of cramped, and it seemed to like 4 players were kind of overkill for the space they were operating in. But it did look like a lot of the objectives are built around something where you just wouldn't be able to do it by yourself. So it's built around the idea of the co-op. So, it could turn out good. We'll have to see. Far Cry 3 on a whole looks pretty nice, but I kind of feel like, first-person shooter fatigue is setting in. A lot of mumbles and grumbles of people both at the conference or online is just like, oh, yay, it's another game where I just get to shoot things. Just shoot, run, blow up, take cover, move from cover, shoot. So I don't know, maybe leading into the next generation, developers are going to kind of have to figure out a way to break the cycle of the generic shooter, because they're coming out heavy, and they are the top-selling genre right now still, though, so it's hard to move away from it. But based on how lukewarm the reception was for the Far Cry 3 demo at the Sony conference, I think that fatigue is starting to set in, and if you're going to build a first-person shooter, something's really going to have to set it apart from the rest, because people are kind of losing patience for just to kind of mow guys down as you methodically move forward gameplay. Sony did also mention they would have some exclusive DLC for Far Cry, but again, details weren't given for it. From there, Andrew House came out, and well, as far as from a gamer standpoint, this is where the conference kind of took a nosedive for a while. Andrew House came out, wanted to talk about Move, and he introduced WonderBook. It's basically an interactive storybook that uses the PlayStation Move and camera to tell interactive stories. You kind of have a blank canvas with this book, and you buy individual book stories or episodes, and it projects those things onto the book, and then using Move can manipulate things as the story unfolds. And they said you can change the story based on how you interact with it. So I don't know, the big showcase part of it, though, was J.K. Rowling's Book of Spells, which is coming to WonderBook. And it basically was like, learn this spell by doing these movements here. Sure enough, motion controls don't show well at a conference. And Nintendo's learned that lesson, Microsoft's learned that lesson, Sony learned it today. It didn't work real well in some sections. One point, the woman was trying to cast a spell and it just wouldn't recognize it. I don't know if it just was bad alignment with the camera or interference in the conference center or whatever, but that wasn't the problem, though. The problem was they spent way too much time on this. It should have been a cool little thing that they said, hey, get in the booth, try it out. but here's the basic concept. Instead, they just kind of beat it into everybody's mind that, hey, we're going with this and we're serious about it. Maybe it was kind of like a deal they made with J.K. Rowling that they'd give it prime billing at the conference. I don't know, but it was the longest demo of the show, and it didn't need to be. It should have been one of the shortest. We got the concept. They needed to show it and move on and get back to the games, or expand the other demos. We could have seen more of Far Cry 3 or Assassin's Creed. Anything really. So WonderBook, I just don't see it doing too well. It was sad that so much time was spent on that when Vita, a new system, got so little attention that people are already calling it dead. And obviously it's not dead, but it really needed more time at the conference. You really needed to talk about it more, Sony. Disappointed is the best way of saying it. I don't think WonderBook is taking away from Sony's ability to put stuff out on the Vita, but it is getting people talking about, the wrong stuff right now. The Vita needs an infusion of excitement, and opportunity was missed. And I don't think WonderBook's going to turn those bad financials around. A healthy Vita, a strong finish for the PS3, and momentum going into the next console is what Sony needs right now. WonderBook's not going to provide that. After the WonderBook demo, they talked about PlayStation Suite, which is going to be expanded, enriched, and renamed to PlayStation Mobile. And currently it's only been available on Sony branded devices, but it is powered by Android. So Sony has partnered with HTC, and HTC is now going to allow PlayStation Mobile content. So you'll be able to play some of those minis, older PlayStation titles, whatever it could be, that have been kind of locked to the Xperia Play will be coming to HTC phones. And HTC makes good phones. It's a good partner for them. I think a lot of people would have preferred Samsung, or hopefully Samsung's coming. Obviously, it's not something that Apple would be interested in partnering up with, but HTC is a good phone maker. When my next phone upgrade cycle comes around, I'll consider it. PlayStation Mobile is a good bullet point for them, and it's good of Sony to diversify their content partners. So again, they do need to be certified devices to work, and so now you're going to have Sony Ericsson and HTC making those devices. But Sony got back into the games from there, and they went with the God of War Ascension. God of War is obviously one of Sony's most important franchises, so they spent a good 5 to 10 minutes of pure gameplay on it, and it certainly looks like more God of War, and I have nothing against that. It's just it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot left to bring to the table right now to kind of wow you. After Bayonetta and its really tight battle controls and its systems for combos and basically the whole engine driving Bayonetta, it's really tough to get too impressed by the action genre these days unless they're doing something really unique. We only saw a small slice of God of War, but it kind of looked like the same thing. The attack, evade, chip away until the QTE pops up, and then rush in and finish off the foe. Now, it is fun gameplay, but we're getting a lot of God of War in a short amount of time. I did like the kind of thing where it looked like Kratos was either rewinding time or repairing some damage. At one point, it looked like the Kraken smashed some platforms, and Kratos went and he kind of rebuilt them halfway and used these half-built platforms to climb up, and then when he was up to a certain point, he had them rebuilt all the way and then used them to kind of cross a gap. So that was a cool mechanic. I don't know how much that'll be leveraged, but it would have been nice if they had talked a little bit about it and gave us some more information other than just standing there with the controller and talking. But it looked nice. Again, I said it is a fun series. It's just it's really tough to better what Platinum Games did with Bayonetta as far as the fighting goes. So I just would like to see a few more innovations in the genre, especially in series that are on their 3rd and 4th installments already. The end of the show ended with a real bang, and that was the showing of Last of Us. This is from Naughty Dog. Obviously, Naughty Dog's been wrapped up with Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 for the PlayStation 3 this generation. So they're getting a real chance to kind of branch out and do something new. On the surface, when you first look at it, you can kind of see its similarities to Uncharted, but once things start rolling out and you see how the combat works, it's much different. So it does look real gritty. I think that's the term that you're probably going to hear a lot. Real raw. I mean, it's a game where finally your enemies are as dangerous as you are. If you walk into a room and there's 10 guys, you're probably not going to win that in just a head-on fight, and you can't just soak up bullets, and neither can your enemies. Now, yeah, we did see in the gameplay he took down several enemies, but he had to be kind of clever about it. He had to take out the lead man or 2 or 3 guys in kind of indirect combat, so that when the direct combat happened, the numbers were thinned down enough that he could deal with it. It was kind of cool when his gun ran out of bullets and he dry fired a couple of times. The guy's like, I know what that sound is. I'm coming for you. He rushed in. What I want to know is if you can intentionally dry fire the gun to make guys think you're out of bullets and draw them in. But it looks great. I mean, in motion, it looks really, really beautiful. And that, and like Halo 4, some other examples that this generation, they've really, really done a good job of making this old tech still look pretty nice. You guys think about how old these machines are, and that games are still coming out that are graphically impressive, that we haven't. I mean, I don't think it's a mistake that Sony and Microsoft are waiting another year and a half to get these new consoles out. The games still look great. Obviously, there's plenty of room for advancement with the way technology has progressed, but they're allowing us to extend our hardware budget beyond the normal life cycle, and then obviously the longer they wait, the cheaper technology gets. That's going to be one of those noticeable leaps forward. So as the Sony conference wrapped up, looking back, they did have some really nice demos and some nice games. They spent way too much time talking about WonderBook and the PlayStation Suite. I know there's some games coming from Vita, but they needed to show them here. It needed to be more than that Assassin's Creed trailer and the mention of Call of Duty Black Ops. They had to show more games. They had to get us some sort of battle plan. As a Vita owner, I'm kind of concerned. The cupboard looks pretty bare outside of a few token third-party stuff. They need their first parties coming out and really supporting this thing. I know Nintendo is going to be backing off a little bit on 3DS announcements just to give Wii U its time, but I can promise you that there's going to be plenty of projects on the floor that the 3DS is going to have, and I think Sony really has an issue here. They have to get the Vita onto some solid ground, get some footing underneath it, because right now it just feels like there's no confidence behind it by those who even chose to adopt it early. Really, the buzz coming out was 2 things. Last of Us, obviously everyone was impressed by that, and there was a lot of people talking about that, but then the other big thing was, where was the Vita? What's going on? That was the big thing everyone thought coming in, is that Sony was going to blow out tons of games for the Vita, and it just didn't happen. So overall, it wasn't one of Sony's best conferences, but in hindsight, there was a lot of content there to kind of get people excited. Quantic Dreams project looks nice, but we need to know more about it. I'm not too sold on Battle Royale. Assassin's Creed 3 looks great. God of War Ascension, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know. I think that the action genre is evolving faster than the God of War series is at this point. But it's still a big franchise for Sony, and I know that. Last of Us right now, though, that's the game I'm most interested in playing. That and Watch Dogs from Ubisoft. We'll have to see what Nintendo brings to the table tomorrow. I'll have another wrap up tomorrow night. So thank you guys for listening. For more E3 coverage, check us out at gamertheory.com, and make sure to comment on our articles, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stick with us as we continue to cover the show. Thanks.